Well, here it is. The final film in this marathon that I have seen in the past, Lightyear. This is basically the higher budgeted version of the Buzz Lightyear Star Command series from back in the day. Except this time, Pixar did an interesting spin on it. It's an origin story for the Buzz Lightyear toy we know from the main series. And the description of this movie states that this was the movie that Andy watched. So, that said, this does take place within the Toy Story canon. Now, when I was about to watch this a while back, I theorized that this was gonna pull a Buzz Lightyear Star Command, in which this takes place before Toy Story 4, and with the current toys watching this movie. But I was completely wrong, as this was indeed the movie Andy watched. By the way, I love the cute little nod to when Buzz arrived in the original Toy Story movie, thanks to Andy receiving him for his early birthday. But of course, we all know this, because who hasn't seen Toy Story? But enough about that. What do I personally think of this movie after this rewatch? Well, I can see why this was Andy's favourite movie. While it may not be up there with the main 4 films, it's still a very fun origin story. The story of this movie is very well paced. It's about Buzz trying to reach hyperspeed after a major derailment. After many failed attempts which resulted in him travelling further and further into the future, resulting in the loss of his best friend Alicia, he, along with the assistance of his robot cat companion named Socks, finally reaches hyperspeed. But upon doing this, he has travelled 22 years into the future, and he meets a slew of faces, including Alicia's granddaughter named Izzy, as well as 2 other recruits, Mo and Darby. And together, the quartet travel to try and finish the mission. All the while, the evil Emperor Zurg, who happens to be Buzz's future self of an alternate timeline, is also tracking down that same crystal. I really enjoyed this film's story. It is really well paced. And I also love all the little references to the original Toy Story. Hearing all of these lines that came from there being in this movie, if we're going in continuity, is very neat. And you know me when I'm like with a past topic being referenced or brought up. Quite a few lines from the first Toy Story are quoted. Even this line from Toy Story 2.
I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm always sure.
It's just neat. Hell, something that I never even noticed until watching the movie again after seeing it in cinemas was that the armadillo was repainted into the same livery the package for Buzz was in the main series. That was something I found really cool. Buzz is still the same old Buzz we know from the main series. Of course, it is just a real-life Buzz that inspired the toy from the main films, but I still enjoyed him in this film. I'll talk more about Chris Evans' voice for the character later, but I will say that I enjoyed his little arc here. After causing a bit of ruckus, he feels guilty about what happened, but after a little motive from Alicia and accidentally planning it all out, which, by the way, gave me a good chuckle, he plans to get everyone home by the power of the crystals. But things don't go the way it seems, and it all results in Buzz seeing Alicia's life flash before his eyes, seeing her get engaged, seeing her get older, and witnessing her final message when she passes away. But despite this, Buzz is still determined to fix everything. But only once meeting Izzy, at first, he's reluctant as her, along with Mo and Darby, are rookies. And we did see a glimpse of that at the beginning with the rookie Alicia brought along. But nevertheless, he finds his team once the trio actually help him out during the climax. After a bit of misfortunes like Mo triggering an alarm, but ending up getting out anyways with a bit of teamwork. And even losing the crystal thanks to Izzy accidentally rejecting it. Izzy is a cool character. I like her desire to be a space ranger like her grandmother. And at first, she has a fear of space, but she overcomes that with the help of Socks. And by the end of the movie, she becomes a space ranger. Like some past characters with VAs I know, just hearing Kiki Palmer in this film after coming right off the heels of the Ice Age series was a complete whiplash. Mo and Derby I don't really have that much to comment on, but Derby is kinda like Abby from the last film. But I just don't feel the same way as I do with Abby. But Darby's still fun. I love the moment when the gang are being chased by the Zerg boss when she uses Mr. Boom to defeat them. That got a giggle out of me. Mo's also a fun comic relief character too. Nothing compared to the likes of Dory or Mater, but I still like him. But Socks is where this movie really shines. Hearing Peter Sohn, the same guy who voiced Squishy in Monsters University, was honestly a delight. And not to mention that it's a cat character, and you know what I'm like with cat characters. I mean, I gave Puss in Boots a very high praise in my character highlight reel episode on him, and I feel the same way with Socks. Not as much as Puss, but still a cute character. And you know what God's like with cats. I mean, she does have a cat of her own, if you know what I mean. And I might as well mention her while I'm at it. At least she made for a really good first companion for Buzz. Their relationship from the beginning of the film until she dies is really fun to see unfold. I especially love this little moment when Buzz is talking.
Whatever the galaxy may throw your way, will you please turn that off?
It's just too easy.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
That made me laugh. And yeah, I know there were complaints on the scene where Alicia and her girlfriend, Kiko, kiss on the lips. And on this rewatch, while I appreciated this, I was like, really people? Like, this complaint is coming from the same people who probably watched Owl House, which featured a human girl dating a witch. Hell, Clouds on the Horizon was released just before this movie, which literally had a scene where Lucy and Arnie kiss on the lips. And you know how much the Owl House fanbase reacted to that? And heck, they even do it again a year later in the series finale. And from what I heard, no one complained about it. Viewers these days. Anyway, enough about Owl House. If you want to see my thoughts on that, go check out my character highlight reel episode I did on Lumini. But back to this movie. And I really like what they did with Zurg in this film. I know some people aren't too keen on the whole alternate Buzz take with Zurg, but I really appreciate the detail of him being an older Buzz for an alternate timeline. As someone who can pull off alternate timelines well in my separate Thomas headcanons for both YouTube and DeviantArt, I just find it clever that Zurg just turned out to be this. He also wants to finish the mission just like Buzz, but upon hearing that Buzz doesn't want to, he tries everything he can to defeat him and complete the same mission Buzz was trying to accomplish. Now for other little details, as always. The animation for this film is stellar. It really pulls off the whole intergalactic feel that this film is going for. All of the details of the sun is great, and all of the dark lighting in the dark side of the moon is stunning. Really fantastic stuff here. This pretty much feels like an animated version of a live-action Disney film, and Pixar really ran with it with the animation here. And the score for this film is really great. This is the only Toy Story related movie to have Michael Giacchino compose the score, after composing the score for Cars 2, which actually makes this movie the second production in the franchise to have him composing the score instead of Randy Newman. And it was suiting that they hired him for this, given that this is a sci-fi inspired film and all. But this isn't the first time Giacchino has composed for the Toy Story series, as he previously composed the score for the TV specials Toy Story of Terror and Toy Story That Time Forgot. And he does as great of a job as he did for the TV specials. His arrangement for the main theme of this movie is top-notch, and there are other pieces I really like the music during the montage of Buzz seeing Alicia's life flash before his eyes. Giacchino really outdid himself for this movie. And lastly, might as well get this out of the way. The controversy surrounding Chris Evans, aka Captain America's actor, voicing Buzz instead of Tim Allen. I know there are people who would say, oh, it's not the same as Tim Allen, or why couldn't they have just used Allen instead of Evans? Well, I think Fire TV said it best. This isn't the toy coming to life. That was the toy's voice. This is a living, breathing human, and it's okay if the voice is different. And being honest, I couldn't have said it better than him. In other words, I don't really mind Evans's voice for the character. Evans even stated in some of his interviews for Lightyear that he was a pretty big Disney fan, and that he knows all of the iconic lines from the first Toy Story 0 to none. And I can't say I blame him there. But overall, Lightyear is a very fun movie. It's a good little origin story for the Buzz Lightyear toy from the films we all know and love. And believe it or not, director Angus MacLane has expressed his interest in doing a sequel. And that, if it happens, Buzz would get his utility belt that we saw the toy of in Toy Story 2. And if that happens, I would kill to see the original story of how Buzz would get that belt. I mean, we did see a teaser of a potential sequel. The after credits scene where Zurg comes back to life, so who would have knows what will happen. I mean, this is Disney we're talking about here, and they would make sequels to anything. Like, come on! Nobody asked or requested for a third Incredibles film. Like, I would take a third Finding Nemo or third Planes movie over this. But it is what it is, I suppose. But if you haven't seen Lightyear yet, I recommend giving this a chance, and see what you make of it. You may or may not enjoy what this movie has to offer. And with that, we're now at the tail end of this marathon. Only 3 more films left to cover. And for tomorrow's installment, we have Elemental. And after reading the script for one of my upcoming series episodes inspired by this movie, I am very curious as to how this movie is going to end up being. Will it end up being a surprisingly good first time watch like some of the previous films? Or will it be a complete disappointment? We will find out in tomorrow's video.